to swear her in. So I just want you all to be aware of that. When this, if she's running late, when she gets here, we will swear her in and then go on with the meeting. So thank you all for coming to this Kentucky Housing Corporation Board of Directors meeting. And Sam, do we have a confirmation of a quorum and the press notice?
Yes, we have a quorum and the press have been notified.
Okay. I do want to welcome Steve Humphreys with the Attorney General's office, and we're glad you're here. And feel free. I try to go a little fast, but don't hesitate to interrupt me if you need to. All right. Okay. So anyway, I think everybody's had a chance to look at the minutes of the meeting held May 28th. And if so, I will entertain a motion that they be approved. Okay, motion by Matt, Dave, in a second by Matt. All right, all in favor, signify by saying aye. I'm out. Those like sign, motion carries. Ms. Franklin, how are you?
I'm great.
Well, come in, please.
Okay.
And if you would come up here, Laura, it needs to swear you in.
Okay.
All right.
I've been taking a tour of the entire campus.
You said, nice to have you. Might get them.
Nice to meet you. Hello,
Good
Ms.
to
Miller. How are
see you. I'm great. Good to have you.
Okay.
Uh-oh, am I swearing?
Yes,
Not
you-
being a duel and all this?
Pretty much. So just raise your right hand for me, please. I do solemnly swear or affirm that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of this Commonwealth and be faithful and true to the Commonwealth of Kentucky so long as I continue a citizen thereof, and that I will faithfully execute to the best of my ability the office of board member of Kentucky Housing Corporation according to law. And I do further solemnly swear or affirm that since the adoption of the present Constitution, I, being a citizen of the state, have not fought a duel with deadly weapons within the state nor out of it, nor have I sent or accepted a challenge to fight a duel with deadly weapons, nor have I acted as second in carrying a challenge, nor aided or assisted any person thus offending. So help me God.
I do swear to that. Thank you.
you.
Welcome, Ms. Franklin. We're glad to have you. And we have just passed a motion to approve the minutes from the May 28th meeting. So the next item on the agenda is a report of action of the executive committee. Sam, you want to tell us about that?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. So the executive committee of the board met virtually on July 23rd at 2 p.m. At that meeting, the committee considered and approved 3 items. First, an amendment to the KHC administrative plan for rental assistance programs to create a waitlist preference for current participants of the emergency housing voucher program, which is ending soon. A final resolution to issue bonds for Winterwood, Kentucky Portfolio 4, which will rehabilitate 171 total units across 6 developments in Greena, Perry, Pike, Floyd, and Knox counties. And the third, a bond inducement resolution for Miller Apartments, also known as May Street Village Senior, which will create 127 new units serving elderly households in Louisville. This concludes the report of action of the executive committee.
Any members have any questions? Sam? It was a really good meeting. Oh, okay, Kathy.
Just to say, I'm so sorry that the emergency money is running out, and I'm so glad we are not, that you have found a solution, even though it doesn't help the waiting list. But it is what it is. Yeah, thank you.
Any other members? Okay. All right, so we'll go to agenda item 4, the presentation of fiscal year 2026 Federal Trade Commission safeguards. David Carroll. David, welcome.
Thank you. Chairman and board members, it is my pleasure. I'm David Carroll, Director of IT here at Kentucky Housing, and I will be presenting the annual Safeguards Report. And the Safeguards rule, for short, is to ensure that financial institutions like Kentucky Housing maintain safeguards to protect the security of customer information. So I'm not going to read the whole document to you. I want to highlight some of the things that we have accomplished in this year and what's coming up. So we have implemented a password vault to make sure that all passwords are secure and not sticky notes sitting on a monitor or under the keyboard. We've also implemented email hardening through a system called Checkpoint, and it has reduced greatly the number of phishing emails and fraudulent emails that come into the corporation. And we are on the forefront of implementing a new MDR solution, which is called Falcon, which MDR stands for Monitoring, Detection, and Remediation. And we know that there are a lot of bad actors in the world, and they're trying to access data and exploit it for their own benefit. And we're doing all we can to make sure those things do not happen. And so I'm very proud of the team and their efforts to make sure there's no such thing as 100% safe, but we're doing many of the efforts in front of us to make sure that we're there. Another part of the safeguards report is a report on any gaps that we have identified. And under section C4, about 3/4 of the way down, you will see that we have uncovered what's called DAST, or Dynamic Application Security Testing. There were some holes there, which we are shoring up. And right now we are doing some integration that's pending and proof of concept. But our goal right now is to have that implemented by the end of our second quarter of this fiscal year. The second gap that we've identified is threat modeling being evaluated as a secure software development lifecycle. And that's for new apps and any changes within those apps. And the adoption plan, again, is for Q2 of this year. Multi-factor authentication, we found some gaps with some of the administrative accounts. And so those are being implemented, and that's also going to be fully in place by the end of Q2 of this year. And finally, the large language server for Azure DevOps, which is our development platform. We found some security flaws in there as well. Those can be remediated through some security scripts and patches that we are also underway and will be remediated in the end of Q2. Any questions about the report or any of the safety measures we're taking as an organization?
Any members have any questions, David?
All right, it does have to be brought before a motion of acceptance.
All right.
It's in your packet.
Yeah, right. Okay. So David, just let me say thank you for the attention you pay to these safeguards. Because in the banking industry, we are seeing multiple frauds. It's unbelievable. And from multiple sources. We can't keep up with it all. It's so bad. So thank you. All right. So do we have a motion to accept David's report? Kathy, do I have a second, Chad? So I have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Thank you, David. Okay. So John Davis, fiscal year 2026 corporate planning update. Welcome, John. We appreciate you.
And right back at you all. Good afternoon, members of the board. Welcome to the Kentucky Housing Corporation Board, Ms. Franklin and Mr. Humphreys, and it's good to be with you all. I have the pleasure of every year in August talking about what we said we were going to do the prior year. So that's what this is. The first thing I want to share is this is a informational item, so no action is required. This will set the stage for what you're going to hear from Kendrick Vonderschmidt as the next agenda item, and the financial update that you're going to hear from Tracy in a couple of agenda items. So if you'll scroll down just a little bit, Sam. First thing I will say is fiscal 26, we set out to accomplish 3 overarching strategies. Those were address Kentucky's housing supply gap. For those of you all that have been on our board for a while, we've been sounding this horn for a long time. This all started with a housing gap analysis, and we have carried that thread because we all know we have a significant shortage of all types of housing across the Commonwealth. And you'll see some of the things that we are doing, ensuring that the supply gap remains a prominent policy. You'll hear a little bit later from Brandolyn. For those of you all that were at the Kentucky Affordable Housing Conference, first off, thank you. And there were several sessions on this very thing. We're also looking at success stories, and we'll talk a little bit more about that. to address gaps in housing and finally continue to build those relationships with partners. You'll hear a little bit later at the end of the agenda and an informational item about a new program we've launched called the Shared Appreciation Mortgage. So I don't want to steal Jamie and Heather's thunder, but we are doing these things is what my point is. The second is mitigating and financial and missional risk by making sure we're adapting to the funding changes and availability to make sure we're able to communicate the value to our legislators and grantors. You'll also see, you'll hear from Tracy a little bit about some of the ways that we are consolidating and structuring our internal resources to support missional items. She'll share a little more about that. And then obviously we have the responsibility of prudent stewardship for the resources. Last but not least, near and dear to my heart, sustaining and advancing core competencies, promoting higher levels of engagement for our employees, continuing succession planning. I'll draw your attention to 3C there, using artificial intelligence to improve the customer experience and operational excellence at the same time as making sure we're complying with all these FTC safeguard rules, and David and his team are doing that. And then making informed decisions based on data and analytics. So I'll tell you a little more specifically on each of these. If you'll scroll down, Sam. So the first one, addressing Kentucky housing supply gap. In single family, $605.9 million of loan volume on a goal of $500 million. We delivered $178.9 million in rental payments. That's 22,654 PBCA or project-based households. One thing I will remind everyone, that subsidy is tied to the actual unit. Those are 22,654 units around that the Commonwealth, the Kentucky Housing Corporation, actually pays the rental subsidy for. The next one is 30 million, a little over 30.7 million on rental payments to 3,794 actual households, real people. So we operate in our tenant assistance program under Wendy Smith, both the project-based side, but also the tenant-based side. So this subsidy is tied to the actual tenant. They're able to use that in the form of a voucher and move around. In our housing contract administration area, we served almost 7,500 households through homeless programs. You can see that's typically where we overshoot that goal, and you might ask why. Well, part of the challenge is we have to comply with all these HUD guidelines and do a 5-year consolidated plan and an annual plan, and we have to project all these things out 5 years in advance. So it's kind of hard to make sure these two line up, but I always like to see this number be larger than what we project. Last but not least, 1,892 multifamily units in our multifamily program. I think Terry's got a couple of items on the agenda here in a little while as well. One of the things I will tell you is you will notice that there's a gap there between what we projected and what we actually did. I would say the first thing is this was an ambitious goal, the 2,970. A lot of the projects did not close, in the projected time frame. Things happen, and they're very complicated deals. One of the things that we are continuing to do is to refine that target and benchmark to be as achievable as possible, so that these two numbers line up. So that is how we are addressing, and some highlights of how we're addressing the supply gap. You will see not only a lot of dollars, but a lot of units that are on this page here, and a lot of households, real people. Questions or comments before I go to the second one? Yeah.
So one of those will be in the CAPER, the HCA. Okay, I haven't had a chance to look at it yet.
It will. Yes, it will.
And the CAPER is reporting on the other money from HUD.
That's correct.
Just the CPD money, so the ESG, HOPWA, home, and NHTF.
Okay.
Yep. Block grant, yes.
Jonathan, there's a gap between the rental payments of about $6 million. Is that because we got less money from the Fed?
Right here.
The 178 million in rental payments for the same number of households, and you projected 184 million.
I don't know, honestly. I will ask.
I believe the source of that is we have one project, like not a single unit, a whole building that rolled off of our portfolio during fiscal 26.
Oh, okay.
And I just remind everybody here how hard Wendy and her staff worked from when I first came here, and KHC had contracted out with someone to run these project based, and they did a very poor job, and you've clawed, scratched, and worked your way up to outstanding ratings from HUD on this project base. I just like to remind people some of our past accomplishments. Thank you.
We learned a difficult lesson through.
We appreciate all you all.
Thanks, appreciate it.
Thank you. Okay, John, go ahead.
Any other questions before I move to the second?
Are there any one or two things about the multifamily components that are contributing to that number?
So a couple things. We've got 4% and 9%, but here's what I'm gonna not stand up here and try to address that specifically. And I forewarned Terry, we have our multifamily director, if you want to stand up and maybe talk a little bit more about the program and address the question.
So yes, thank you for your question. It does look, it's not a very good numbers that we're reporting, but it's the way that we are reporting them. So in the past, our bond program used to have an open window when we had a surplus of bonds that we could allocate out to different developers at any given time during the year. And so we would then capture those bond closings on the number of units that we have closed on as versus the 9% applications, we did it by allocation. So there's just a difference in the way that we've reported those in the past few years. Now, going forward for FY27, we will be reporting those because we have a more predictable bond NOFA application every January, which is something we've not had in the past. So we are more predictable when we're going to be allocating those funds every single year, not only for us, but for our developers, for our partners. They know every January there will be an application. And so we'll be reporting those based on an allocation in January when we make those announcements, and then whenever those do close. So we'll have a twofold of a reporting for our bonds. They're just a little bit unique in the way that we have reported those in the past.
Thank you.
Yes.
Do we have anything tied up or set aside for the LDG project that just won $36 million and is fair housing?
On your agenda.
One of the items on the
One of your
agenda,
items.
10 years in the making.
Mm-hmm.
Let me say, when I spoke in favor of it, it was to a lot of old, angry white people. Now I'm an old, angry white person, and I'm thrilled at that.
Prospect Cove is on the agenda item for today. Good.
Great. Any other questions? Thank you for the questions first. Not, I'll move to the second strategy, which is mitigating financial risk. You're going to hear more about this from Tracy in just a little bit, but a couple of different areas and a couple of meaningful metrics that we're looking at. You can see our delinquency rate of 4.29%, our average delinquency ratio. Our benchmark is 5.5%. That's in mortgage servicing. We do service roughly 35,000 mortgages at the corporation. So we're in a good spot there and meeting underneath our benchmark. Similarly, 1.23% average foreclosure ratio on a benchmark of less than 1.5%. So we're below both of those. So that's good. 5.6 million in net secondary market gains on a goal of 5 million. I am not going to try to opine on all of the details, but if you recall, this number used to be a lot larger. We used to trade a lot on the TBA market, and that number is sort of right-sized and come down quite a bit. So, but we still use that as a tool as well in finance, which Tracy oversees. We almost $928,000 in project-based management and occupancy review. That's what MOR fees to defer the cost of inspecting these units. So we get additional fees above and beyond. We budgeted for $775,000, and you can see we met almost $150,000. That means all the incentives, all the things we're doing above and beyond, but we're also collecting additional fees above and beyond in our PBCA units for those 22,000 plus units. That's in Wendy's area. And then last but not least, corporate planning and accountability. You will see we collected 94% of our reimbursable expenses covered by admin fees. A couple things to note. We have, in general, roughly 20 different grants that we draw admin fees for. Our goal is always to maximize that. But there are some programs, and won't get into all the specifics unless you have questions, but there are a couple of the programs you just mentioned, ESG, the HOP. I mean, there's not enough money to continue to cover that. That's why it's not 100%. So, but we operate the program, and we should, and we do. So, questions about that? All right. Last but not least, sustaining and advancing core competencies. Again, in corporate planning and accountability, we process draws. And what that means is we have recipients, we have agencies, not-for-profits. They draw money down on all these various grants. And so we have a team that does that and does all the reporting for that. But I want you to see sort of the magnitude. And the thing that I find most interesting here is it's not just the volume, the 6,200 roughly, but it's for the amount. So those numbers used to be smaller and smaller and smaller. They used to be pretty small, but now they're larger. You know, things are more expensive, and the draws are being processed in a timely manner, but also in larger chunks. So you'll hear from Brandolin, the Affordable Housing Conference. Thank you to those that were able to attend. We had 596 folks register, on a goal of about 600 meaningful sessions. But certainly you'll hear a little more about that. If you recall, we launched our new website and revamped it and really did an overhaul of it. We've had, in the last quarter, it's been up just a little less than 3 months, 341,000, we'll call it 342,000 views. Compare that to our old website, which was 255,000. So it's about a 35% increase. And as the recipient of various emails from real people that are looking at our website, those come in all the time, all night, all day, on the weekends, which you know what that tells me? People are seeing our website, going to it, that need help, which is good. So kudos to Brandolin and the communications team back there. But that has been a very good thing. We've gotten some very good positive feedback on that. Turnover rate of 1.76% with our leadership and management positions on a goal of 1.5. We'd like to make sure we're retaining the talent that we have at the corporation, not only at the leadership level, but across the corporation. And I shared it before. We are cautiously leaning in to AI, and we've got guidance that governs that for all of our tools. And we've rolled out in a proof of concept Microsoft Copilot to the organization. So any questions about any of those?
Any members have any questions? John, very impressive.
Thank you. This is an informational item, and thank you all for your time.
Thank you, John. Good job. Okay, Kendrick, you're going to talk about the Kentucky Housing Corporation allocation plan.
Yes, thank you. All right. My name is Kendrick Vonderschmidt. I'm the Managing Director of Corporate Planning and Accountability, and my team puts together this document. Back in May, Wendy presented the forward-facing version of this document, which looked at what we will do in the current fiscal year 27. Every August, my team gets together and we look backwards at the year that was, and we put together the columns in pink here under fiscal year 26. We're looking at the actual amounts that were put to different uses across the corporation, and we do our best to try to figure out how many units were created with those allocations. I'll stay on the first page, and then if there are any questions, we can always refer to the third page. It's also really helpful to break things down by very specific programs. We'll say on the first page and do a relatively high-level overview of this document. Beginning in line B, we, as John noted, we did a loan production volume of 606 million on a goal of 500 million, and we assisted 2,981 households. You'll note in the far right column that our actual investment per unit crept up again, as it has every year since I've started working here. But we're now, the average loan that we're originating is $203,000. The next line down is the down payment assistance that's funded out of our HAF fund. We exceeded our goal there as well. We invested 29.5 million on a goal of 24.5, and we assisted 2,788 homebuyers with that program. Our next line down, line D, is a program that is currently closing out as the Homeowner Assistance Fund, which is funded by the U.S. Treasury as part of a COVID era program to help homebuyers or homeowners stay in their homes. We awarded 4.5 million, and the goal there of 10 million was a blanket estimate as to what funding we thought we had at the time in the previous May period. We assisted 262 homes with those funds, an average amount of assistance of 17,000. And that program, we've stopped accepting applications, we've sent our last payments, and we're just rolling out the reporting to Treasury at this point. So you won't see that program again after this year. All right, skipping down to line F is our counseling program. Our counseling program is funded by our HAC dollars here at the corporation. We assisted 2,621 households with $131,780. You'll notice a big disparity between how many households we thought we were going to help and how many households we actually did help. And that is us. We recently brought the program, used to be funded by a HUD grant. We recently brought that program, funded it here at the corporation. It allows us to be a little more flexible, teach classes more than just individual one-on-one. And that's why we're still right-sizing the estimate of how many people would be helped with that program. All right, I'll take a break. Any questions on the single family section?
Well, I was interested in what the median investment per household would be.
For the counseling program?
No, I'm sorry, for that first one, the mortgage production.
Unless
You said
Jamie,
the actual investment per unit is 203,000. I'd be interested in the median. You're not going to know it the second, and as many above as below.
we can get that for you.
Oh, I know you can.
All right, next we'll move on to lines G and H, which is our homeownership production section. This is a single family homes either constructed or rehabilitated in our HCA section of the corporation. We awarded 8.1 million on a goal of just under 6 million. And that is the difference there being we awarded more home dollars to this activity, these kinds of activities than we anticipated. We helped 181 homeowners either get into homes or to rehabilitate their homes with those dollars, with an average investment of 44,700 per unit. And again, that is affected by the mix of the people we did help. And these awards, this 8 million is more tied to units that we're going to help in the future as those grant holders slowly start bringing their units online. Before I move on to multifamily, any questions on homeownership production? All right. Next lines down is I and J. This is multifamily production. These are either units created or preserved. These are the same numbers that John was referring to earlier. We created or preserved 1,832 units. We awarded 304 million in funds for those uses, and that is across our tax exempt bond programs, our federal tax credit programs, the equity generated by our federal tax credit programs, and all the gap funding that we use to assist those projects get off the ground. The big delta here is, as Terry and John both noted, is in our tax and bond program, and that's just the number of how we count the units, number of actual closings we did in fiscal 26 relative to what we thought would get through the pipeline. And as Terry noted, we'll work on reporting that a little differently in the future. Any questions on multifamily? All right. Next line, next 4 lines down is the rental assistance programs. Line L is our HCV and our PVCA, the same numbers that John was again talking about earlier. We helped 26,800 households with those programs and got $211 million out the door with those programs. Our per unit investment did not creep up quite as much as we thought it was going to, but still crept up relative to last year, which is not on this chart. But our per unit investment for those programs is now $7,900. Next line down is a COVID era program. Again, these are the emergency housing vouchers. That money is slowly tapering off over this current fiscal year. We got 1.4 million out the door and helped 136 households. And the final line from this section, line N, is the ERA2 money. This is also Treasury money that was used for COVID from the COVID era. And during this period, we wound down some homelessness and support services sections of that program. And the first 3 months were our last 3 months of that program of fiscal 26. We got 2.5 million out the door and assisted a final 290 individuals. All right, next section is the homelessness and special needs programs housed in our HCA department. The first line P, is our ESG and COC programs. We awarded $11.3 million on a goal of 11.4, and we assisted 5,339 households with those funds. And then our second line here we have broken out is specifically our HOPL program, which is Housing Opportunities for Persons with AIDS. And that's we awarded just under 1.4 million and assisted 394 million last year. Or sorry, 394 households last year. Any questions on homelessness and special needs programs?
Kendrick, I'm being told that our homeless population is growing up home. And unfortunately, and I noticed that you had 5,339 in 26, but you're only estimating 3,700 in 27. Am I reading that right?
Yes.
So are you all seeing a decline?
No. Do you want me to speak to this,
Go ahead.
Kendrick? We are not seeing a decline. In fact, in the what we call the balance of state. So I will say Louisville and Lexington have seen a slight reduction in their point in time count, which is a January count across the nation of people who are homeless. It's always an undercount, but the trend is what's meaningful. In Louisville and Lexington, they've really focused on efforts to get more shelter, particularly in the wintertime, and or create more permanent supportive housing. It's a lot harder to do in the balance of state, although we've done some permanent supportive housing, but we are seeing the numbers go up balance of state, so our more rural areas. The reason that the number is changing is a couple fold. One is we no longer have any of our emergency rental assistance COVID money, which we were using to help people not get evicted or get a hotel motel stay so that we could get them rehoused. That money has wound down and is no longer available. Two, we are spending more and more on keeping people housed so that they do not return to homelessness, and rents keep going up. And so the estimated number that we think we will assist will be lower.
Okay.
It doesn't reflect that there are fewer homeless folks in the balance of state.
Okay, good. Well, thank you.
Thank you, Wendy. Thank you, Chair. All right. And our final section is our energy efficiency and weatherization section. This is a combination of our weatherization program from DOE and LIHEAP, which comes via the state from DOE as well. We awarded 13.9 million. And the difference between that and the 7 million we thought we were going to get to award is a happy accident. When we were planning the fiscal 26 allocation plan that May, we did not know, we had a lot of unknowns that year. We did not know we were going to get our entire normal LIHEAP award that year. We then were able to award to our subrecipients. With those combined funds, we were able to assist 587 units, households, to become weatherized at an average per unit investment of just under $24,000 per household. That last line, you'll notice that there is no additional new investment from our bipartisan infrastructure legislation, additional weatherization dollars. Those funds were awarded in the previous fiscal year. We didn't award any new funds, but those grants were multi-year. So those subrecipients are still doing their work across the state, and they helped 105 households.
Yes, go ahead.
Didn't we get some new money for manufactured housing?
Yes, that is
Is that anywhere in here or?
that is the price program, and we were not able to put any of that funding out in fiscal 26,
Okay.
but it will happen in fiscal
It will
27.
happen somewhere in, what would it be? What category would it be in?
We had that under, did we roll that up? I think that will show up under homeownership production. So it'll roll up under line H there.
And going back to median, I'd be interested if you could, if you can, because we do well with our fair housing efforts, okay? But I'd be interested in having a breakdown of where, by race, by female-headed household, persons with disability, along the median, to see where we might devote more resources. You know what I'm saying? You're doing data analytics. To me, that would be kind of an interesting thing to know.
And Kendrick, we've done something like that where we look program by program at who we're serving and how does that compare to the population and the balance of state, and are we at least on par or doing excelling at serving?
And you heard my first statement?
Yeah, no, I did. I'm not taking, yeah, I think we have something like that. We might not have refreshed it in the last year, but we have that.
I think we actually do have a refresh for 26 by race and ethnicity, but we can continue to look for female-headed household and ethnicity or whatever it's available.
Persons with disability, yeah.
You have that median loan amount, by the way, it's 199,323.
It's interesting.
Not
Very
huge
close.
difference,
Very
yeah.
close. Okay, thanks.
Any other questions? All right, so the bottom line number here, just under $1.2 billion awarded in fiscal 26, and we assisted many homes across the Commonwealth with it. Thank you.
Kendrick, thank you for your work, and this is very impressive. I mean, $1.2 billion that you all have worked. I know the staff works very hard, and we appreciate your effort. So, Tracy, you want to tell us about give us a financial update? And the financials look really, really good.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good afternoon, members of the board. Yeah, I think they do look good. Another good year. I'm going to do a pretty high level here. This is our fourth quarter report out. We're in the middle of an audit of our financial statements, and those full statements will be presented to Finance Committee next month, and then the full board of directors in October. So these won't be the last time you see these numbers, but this is a nice overview of what's to come. So looking at our balance sheet here, starting with line A, we continue to add to the balance sheet by issuing debt to finance our mortgage activity. Over the past year, total assets have increased by $239 million. This is almost entirely our MBSs and the bond indenture. Going to line B, cash and investments. This increased $22 million over the past year. This is largely bond proceeds sitting in the indenture to be used to fund our loan activity as well. So if you go down, you'll see the overall increase in assets at June 30 is $260 million in line D. Looking down at line E and F, revenue bonds and interest payable, these two lines increased by $237 million during the fiscal year, which coincides with the increase in assets up above. resulting in total liabilities increasing in line I by 239 million. Looking at the net position at the mark-to-market, before the mark-to-market in line J, an increase of 21 million. This reflects the night's profit for the year. You'll see more info on that on the income statement in the next slide. Going down to line K, this is the mark-to-market of our securities. The market value of the securities improved year over year by 13 million, a trend we've been seeing all fiscal year and last fiscal year as well. So the overall net position at year end down in line L improved by 34 million to 538 million. Questions on the balance sheet? All right, we will move along to the income statement. Looking at line C, we've got a really nice net interest income of 22.5 million, a slight increase over last year by 2.8 million. So we're earning more on our interest income than what we're paying out in expense. Line D, gain on sales of loans. Happy to report we've seen a slight increase here as well by about 2 million. This is a reflection of doing more loans via the secondary market than mortgage revenue bonds this past year. About 46 million more than we did last year. Line F, net increase or decrease in the fair value of our securities decreased by 1.6 million to 13 million. So total revenues increased by 4 million to 68 million in line G. Going down to expenses, line H, G&A expenses, there's an increase of 3.6 million. This is predominantly from operations and mortgage servicing. So you'll see some of that on our operating budget slide. Line I, provision for loan losses. This is an increase of 1.4 million, which reflects the growing portfolio and the need to adjust the reserve accordingly. Total expenses in line M increased by 5 million to 38 million, which is mostly that G&A expense and the loan loss. Going down to line P, our change in net position, which is the net income for the year, is 34 million. This is the improvement of the net interest income, the trading gains offset by the G&A and the loan loss reserve. Any questions on the schedule? All right, moving on. This is the cash flow schedule. I'm not going to point anything out in particular here, but you see last year compared to this year, we operated things pretty much the same. We issued debt to finance mortgage activity. We borrowed on lines of credit in order to warehouse loans, very similar year over year. All right. The next two schedules are our operating budget. The first one is our operating fee income budget versus actual for year end. I'll point out a couple lines here. Lines C and D are homelessness and weatherization programs. These two came under budget by about 1.2 million collectively. These are where we budgeted to utilize some of these funds, but we didn't actually incur the expenses, so there's no fee income to draw down on those. So there's less expenses on the second slide here. Going down to line H, mortgage servicing fee income. It's favorable to budget by 1.6 million. As I've mentioned before, we budget for this pretty conservatively, not knowing where interest rates are going to go or if prepays will pick up. So we had a good year in servicing as well. Multifamily programs is 2 million favorable budget. Again, here we budget conservatively. Projects were taking longer to close, so we weren't sure what would actually get closed in the fiscal year. And then also, we picked up quite a bit of third-party inspection business that was not budgeted for. So our design and construction folks are doing inspections for partners that maybe we don't have funds in those deals, but we're getting a fee for service for doing so. And then overall, in line Q, we have 1.7 million favorable budget with a surplus of 6.6 million. All right, one more schedule. This is our operating expenditures versus budget. Going down at the bottom, you can see we came pretty close to budget. Down in line CC by about $70,000. A few things to point out here. We are favorable to budget in employee development and travel in lines H and I. Some of that is attributed to those grant programs that we didn't have fee income for. Computer operations in line E. This is favorable to budget by $247,000. Some of this is related to COVID programs that sunsetted earlier in the year that we didn't need to incur additional expenditures for. And then down in line G, mortgage service default costs. This is unfavorable to budget by $2 million, and there's a couple of reasons. I know I've discussed in prior meetings that general default costs are up. We returned to loss mitigation requirements that were pre-COVID. The HUD allowable attorney fees are up. The property preservation fees that can be charged are up. But then we also had a couple anomalies during the year. One, we have a database cleanup project going on. Staff were able to purge 60,000 electronic loans in our mortgage servicing system. And some of those had some foreclosure balances in there that needed to be wiped out that hit the bottom line. And then the last couple months, we have attempted to find some interest expense savings on some loans that are in the foreclosure process. So right now, when a loan, when a claim is submitted to HUD, HUD pays the interest back based on the debenture rate at the time of default. Right now, that's around 4.5%. We have a lot of loans in this process that are at 5.75%, 6.5%, 7%. So we buy those loans out of the pools earlier, then we can save on some interest expense. So that's what we've done the last couple months, and I'm going to try to track how much interest we actually saved doing so, but that created a cost at the end of the fiscal year to buy those out. So that's mainly the reason for that there. This line should look a lot less in fiscal 27. Overall, like I said, we're in the middle of our financial audit, and you'll hear more soon in the next couple months.
Any members have any questions of Tracy? Tracy, let me commend you for your work, and these financials really look good. And I know you've had a good year with the market has helped you, but also operations are much better than I thought they might be. So
Yeah, it's definitely been a challenging year. First of all, in the market, doing both bonds and secondary market trading, because you just know what you're going to get when you wake up every single day. So we've been, pretty good with execution there. And then, right now, running a servicing operation is a significant challenge because borrowers are being strained just like everybody else. Property taxes are going up, insurance is going up. And so they do a fantastic job. Our delinquency ratio is low, our foreclosure ratio is low, but it takes an army to get there. So I appreciate it.
thank you. And these three preceding items just indicate the breadth and scope of what this wonderful staff does. So Winston, would you make sure that all your staff knows how much this board appreciates the work that they do?
We will.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you, Tracy.
Can I add, but having a default rate that low, it takes an army, but it really keeps people homes.
Yes.
And I don't think we've monetized that.
Very true.
Good.
Yep.
All right, Terry, you're up. You got a final resolution for Vonto Apartments?
Good afternoon. All right, so today I'm going to present to you the final resolution for Bonta Apartments. This project was presented for inducement resolution to you all on August 28th of 2025 for a bond authority in the amount of $5.5 million. And this final resolution is for $4,850,000. Project received their TEFRA hearing on May 15th of 2026. And they have been presented to the State Property and Building Commission, as well as the Capital Projects and Bond Oversight Committee of the Legislature. This project involves a rehab of 98 units, serving elderly at or below 60% area median income. And the project consists of 93 one-bedroom units, 5 two-bedroom units, and it's located at 3816 Camelot Drive in Lexington. The developer is AU Associates. The bond counsel is, and your purchase counsel, equity provider all listed here in your packet. KHC staff recommends the approval by the Board of Directors of Kentucky Housing Corporation of this final resolution for the issuance of bond for Bonta Apartments.
Any members have any questions of Terry regarding this resolution? If not, I'll entertain a motion that we approve.
So moved.
Kathy, do I have a second? Second. Second, Mr. Charter. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Okay, Terry, this resolution for Prospect Cove.
All right, so today I have the inducement resolution for Prospect Cove. This is the property that is located in Louisville, Kentucky. It is requesting bonding authority in the amount not to exceed $35 million, and it involves a new construction of 176 total units in Jefferson County at 6500 Forest Cove Lane and 7301 River Road. The project will serve 127 elderly households at 60% AMI and below. And the project will include 122 one-bedroom units and 54 two-bedroom units. The developer is LDG Multifamily out of Louisville. The council, lender council, equity provider management company is listed here. As the financing for the project progresses, the Board of Directors of Kentucky Housing Corporation must also authorize the issuance and sale of the tax-exempt bonds through approval of separate resolutions. KHC staff has reviewed the preliminary submittals of the applicant and recommends approval by the Board of Directors of Kentucky Housing Corporation of an inducement resolution authorizing tax-exempt financing of Prospect Cove.
Any members have any questions of Terry in regard to this inducement resolution? If not, I'll entertain a motion that it be approved. Kathy, do you have a second? I'll move second by Chad. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Thank you,
Thank
Terry.
you all.
We appreciate your hard work. All right, informational items. Winston, we'll turn it over to you.
Sure. We have 3 items on today. The items are listed on your agenda, but I will introduce first Sam Thorner, who is going to give us an update on housing legislation and regulatory updates. Sam?
Thank you. Thank you, members of the board. So I'm going to provide an update on a few pieces of legislation and some regulatory proposals that have been prominent over the summer. So first, I'm going to discuss the 21st Century Road to Housing Act. This bipartisan housing legislation became law on July 11th. It's the most comprehensive overhaul of federal affordable housing programs in decades. It provides a framework for many new housing activities, including new pilot programs. While it is significant and much needed and provides updates to housing programs, Congress will need to allocate funding for many of the new pilot programs, and HUD will need to undertake rulemaking for both new and existing programs. So it may be some time before we see changes here in Kentucky, but some of the most significant changes that we will see include reducing the administrative burden for environmental review process for KHC funded activities. It'll decrease the amount of time it takes for certain types of developments to receive environmental approval, which has been a huge issue over the last few years. So that will be significant. For us, it'll make the process easier for us, require less staff time, and these projects will be able to move forward more quickly. Reforms to the USDA Rural Development Program could increase lending efficiency to make their mortgage product a reliable financing source for clients of KHC single-family development partners. So we're really excited about that. RD has had some significant issues with the timing of when their products are available. So I think this will help streamline the process and make them a more reliable source for people in rural areas. And then the legislation also incentivizes local governments to modernize their zoning and permitting process to accelerate housing production. I think KHC will be well positioned to assist state and localities to adopt compliant zoning and permitting requirements, develop regional housing plans, and build capacity to document the removal of barriers to housing, which will be critical for ensuring future funding eligibility. So we're very excited about this piece of legislation, but it's going to take further acts of Congress and further acts on the part of HUD and other federal agencies before we start to see all of the effects of this legislation flow through to us and to our partners. So that's the 21st Century Road to Housing Act. I also want to discuss another bill that was recently introduced. It's called the First Time Home Buyer Affordability Act. So this has to do with the use of private activity bond cap. So bond cap can be used for a variety of purposes. We at KHC use it for housing, primarily to finance mortgages for first-time home buyers or to finance the creation or rehab of larger multifamily developments. Bond cap, it is limited based on the population of each state. It's not used just for housing. It can also be used for economic development or other similar purposes. Often there's demand for this bond cap that exceeds what's available. So, it's a competitive process. The First Time Home Buyer Affordability Act is a bipartisan bill that would exempt bonds issued for the mortgages that we do from the private activity bond cap. So it essentially would mean that KHC could devote more of its bond cap to multifamily development while still being able to serve the first-time home buyers through our mortgage revenue bond program. So we are very excited about this proposal, and we'll be monitoring it closely as it moves forward. But this would be great, not only for us at KHC, but for the Commonwealth as a whole, because I know there's a big demand for bond cap. So any questions on those? The last item I wanted to talk about is changes proposed by the Office of Management and Budget at the end of May, the Federal Uniform Guidance, which governs the administration of all federal financial assistance, but it includes federal housing programs that we administer at KHC. So the purpose of these proposed changes is to improve transparency, accountability, and oversight of federal assistance. All of these are important goals, and KHC implements a number of controls to ensure that we administer our federal financial programs in an appropriate, compliant manner. However, some of the specifics of the proposed regulatory changes could create a risk to significant disruption to federal program administration, financial risk, and instability for federal grantees and partners. For example, one provision would expand federal authority to terminate and suspend program awards based on policy priorities, which would create a significant amount of uncertainty even after funds are awarded, and suggest the possibility of challenges with congressional direction and intent. The uncertainty this provision could create would likely increase the difficulty of the management of these programs and could increase the cost and administrative burden. Another example is, KHC sometimes operates as a pass-through entity. So we receive the federal funds and we sub-grant those to sub-recipients. And the sub-recipient is the one who's actually administering the program with the federal dollars. The proposed changes would make the pass-through entities responsible for preventing sub-recipients from taking certain actions. And so we would be responsible for ensuring that they are, not damaging the reputation of KHC, of the awarding agency, of the federal government. So it puts more risk on KHC when we operate as a pass-through entity and have sub-recipients. Comment period for this regulatory change closed back in July. There were nearly 500,000 comments received, so it received significant conversation, significant amount of national. Because it's not just housing; it's all federal awards that are going to be subject to this. I just wanted to make sure that the board was aware that we're monitoring this, and we will provide you with updates on the impact to KHC of these proposed changes once we know what the final version will look like. So.
Did KHC put in a comment?
We did.
Yes.
In the future, if you do that, I could submit a comment. Please let me as a board member know if
Good to
there's
know.
something that.
I will say, as Sam said, they got over 500,000, so well represented, but we'll keep that in mind.
Absolutely.
500,001.
There's usually a lot fewer comments when it's a housing specific regulation change. But yeah, we'll let you know if there's any that are coming up that we think are worth getting additional voices and comments on.
Any other questions of Sam? Sam, thank you for a very enlightening report about legislation and pending regulations. And I must say that just as a point of emphasis, keep your eyes on these proposed changes to the Treasury regulations. They are very, very significant and pose, if nothing else, the risk of uncertainty as to how the programs are handled into the future. So you'll hear more from us about those. I'm not sure that any of us are in a position to do much about them, but you'll hear from us. And our next presenter is Brandon Foster, who is our Chief of Communications and who was the leader of our group in terms of orchestrating and presenting the Affordable Housing Conference, which we just concluded earlier in the month. A couple of you were able to attend. We had some other board members that aren't with us today that did attend. And Brandon, I won't attempt to summarize what you're going to summarize for us.
Dang. I just want to provide a brief recap. As Winston said, this year's conference, it was themed Framing Kentucky's Future, took place in Lexington earlier this month. And we welcomed nearly 600 attendees who attended 37 sessions or trainings with 67 speakers or panelists, including folks from all housing sectors. We had speakers from Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, the National Association of Realtors, Strong Towns. We had leaders from community land trusts and manufactured housing, nonprofit leaders, some state government folks, and of course our in-house experts here at KHC also had some sessions. The content mostly focused on multifamily development, single-family development, homeownership, housing acceleration, and specialized housing and homeless services. We also had Governor Andy Beshear join us and State Representative and Housing Task Force Chair Susan Whitten. We had 52 organizations participating as a sponsor or an exhibitor with us this year. And while we are still reconciling our invoices, and I don't have final numbers for you yet, just a few weeks out, but we expect that the conference will be profitable, exceeding what we had expected. So happy to report that. We had our housing awards as part of the conference this year. And in addition to those annual awards, we invited the families of PG Peoples and Lynn Llewellyn to join us. And they were presented with board resolutions as part of our award ceremony. They repeatedly expressed their gratitude for those board resolutions, that recognitions, and this board. So I wanted to be sure and pass that along from Wilma Peoples and Crit Llewellyn to all of you. And I would also like to extend my thanks, as Winston already expressed. Several board members participated in some way, helped spread the word, part of sessions, or attended, including Mike Denham, Barry Noffsinger, Bruce Brown, Samuel Tartar, Mayor Rob Adams, Anissa Franklin, and Stephen Humphreys serving as proxy. So thank you all so much. Does anyone have any conference questions for me?
Just let me comment that it was an excellent conference.
It was a good conference.
And I didn't spend as much time there as I wanted to, because I had a family friend to pass away, but I really do appreciate you all recognizing Lynn Llewellyn and PG Peoples, who were titans of the affordable housing industry. But it was all the comments I heard from people there were wonderful. So thanks to all of y'all.
Glad to hear it. Thank you.
It is quite an undertaking. For those who've been there can appreciate it. But we're talking about around 600 people there at the height, and pretty much that many people there throughout the entire conference. And you've got, I've forgotten what the number was of different sessions, but I think it exceeded 30. So you've got, for 30 sessions, you've got speakers or panels that have to be invited and orchestrated and all of that. And it really came about because of the collective effort of many people here at Kentucky Housing Corporation. Certainly all the people sitting over here at this table were making substantial contributions and working long hours to make all of this happen and come together. And it's important because it's a place where ideas can be explored. People can learn, they can explore new ideas, and new things will come out of this as time progresses. We hope, and so we think it's something that's valuable to do for the state. and for the housing community, and we're glad that we're able to do it. Randall, and thanks again to you for your effort.
Good job.
I will tell you that Winston bailed me out. I was supposed to introduce Governor Bashir, and there was about 4 or 5 minute lag time there. And I didn't know what to do. And Winston hollered and said, hey, take a break. So we took a break.
Mike did a great job introducing the governor, and we appreciate him making the effort down to do that. And I'm sure the governor appreciated it as well. You all heard about our SAM program, our shared appreciation mortgages, and Jamie and Heather are going to give you an update on that. So without further introduction, I'll let them take the show.
Thank you. So in May, we introduced you to our shared appreciation mortgage program. It was still very much in development. We are pleased to give you an update today on our now 1-month-old shared appreciation mortgage program. You want to go ahead, Sam? We named it after Sam. So in May, we launched our shared appreciation mortgage. We launched it on July 27th using $10 million of Kentucky Housing Corporation's funds as an initial donation. Phase 1 targets first-time home buyers purchasing new construction or newly constructed homes. That can include site-built, manufactured, condos, either. But newly constructed includes complete up to 12 months old, not previously occupied. We are targeting up to 80% area median income, and borrowers must qualify for a Fannie Mae or a Freddie Mac first mortgage program. SAM provides up to 25% as a second mortgage that can cover entirely down payment on that purchase or a portion of down payment and closing costs. There is 0% interest and no monthly payment on that SAM second. The principal plus a pro rata share of the appreciation is repaid at time of triggering events such as sale, certain refinances, or maturity. Next slide, Sam. To highlight the impact of SAM on a $250,000 home, SAM can reduce that buyer's payment between $360 to $609 per month, depending on what product you're comparing it to, conventional versus FHA. Deferring the payment on the SAM second lowers the blended monthly obligation compared to the traditional down payment assistance structure, improving affordability for the borrower. This is a practical value that families will feel every month, while the appreciation share feature protects our capital and recycles funds for future use. Next slide, Sam. So the numbers, we've had 6 whole loans locked in our 1 month. 2 did fall through. One of those properties was not newly constructed, and the other lock had some credit issues that we're working through. But we do have our first SAM loan has closed, and we have 3 that are in process that will likely close in the next few weeks. At present, we have about $9.7 million remaining in our SAM Phase 1. 7 home buyers have completed the SAM Homebuyer Education course, and I want to highlight that those aren't the same loans locked. Not all the same people who have locked loans have completed the education. So that tells me, I hope there are still people out who are shopping out there. We have 58 participating lenders statewide, ensuring broad access. We are now focusing our efforts on a marketing campaign. We launched it right before the housing conference. So now we're really focusing on the boots on the ground marketing. To date, SAM has been featured on KHC. It's been featured in a podcast, various social media posts, and it was highlighted at the Affordable Housing Conference. And as awareness grows, we expect locks and closings will accelerate. So Phase 1 is about proving that the model works. Heather will now share our plans for Phase 2.
So we are starting to ramp up conversations now for Phase 2, which is going to allow us to scale the program. We are going to open up opportunities for partners, which would include municipalities, foundations, employers that want to create employer-assisted housing programs, and nonprofit lenders or CDFIs. We're really excited about this. We've already had conversations, just people kind of brainstorming what they could do within their local municipalities to target specific neighborhoods and be able to get more housing off the ground that's kind of stalled out at this point. Slide. So KHC's phase one program is limited to first-time home buyers that are at 80% AMI and below that are purchasing new construction. We're going to allow the partners to kind of create their own target market, and they can make some changes to those. So they can decide if they want to do new and or existing construction, although we are going to highly encourage them to go for new construction because we see this as a tool to be able to increase the housing supply. They can increase their income limit above 80% AMI. We can actually go up to 175% AMI if that makes sense for somebody. They can be first-time home buyers or repeat home buyers. We think repeat home buyers would make sense in the case of an employer-assisted housing program where they're trying to use this to attract and retain employees. And then they can also change the location. So the program right now is statewide with KHC's phase one investment. For the phase two investments, they can reduce that down to a county, census tract, or even just a street. We have the ability to do that with our software. Slide. We've created some deadlines for us internally to be able to roll out phase two. For municipalities, our target date is September 30th of this year. Foundations, December 31st of this year. Employers would be January 31st of next year. And nonprofit lenders and CDFIs, March 31st of next year. And lastly, we have a short video that our marketing communications department has put together that we wanted to share with you guys.
Kentucky's statewide housing authority has a program to bridge that affordability gap. It will front a 25% down payment for a new buyer.
It used to be you could buy a home for $100,000, $120,000, $150,000. There are very few sales now at those price points, and so we want folks who have what used to be, strong enough incomes to begin their home ownership path, be able to get a shot at it.
I was able to get a perfect borrower for the SAM program. She was an older lady that had not owned a home in several years. So she was really looking for a affordable payment. And with the SAM program, we were able to provide that for her in a new construction home that would have lower maintenance. It was just the perfect product for her at this time in her life.
It's a loan, but it doesn't have to be paid off until the buyer sells their house, potentially years or decades later.
So there's no interest collected on that. There's no monthly payment on it, so it helps with that borrower's monthly obligation.
Once the homeowner sells, 25% of that money returns to the housing agency. It's called shared appreciation.
When they sell the home or it's time to pay off SAM, because they will pay it off, they will pay back that original principal balance that they borrowed, and then whatever percentage of that original purchase transaction, up to 25% that they borrowed, they'll pay back that same percentage of future appreciation on that home.
Homeowners could save more than $400 on their monthly mortgage.
Well, the home buyer would not have been able to afford a home that would be very little maintenance for her, and with the affordable payment, so that, she has the extra income each month to still do the things that she wants to do and to buy those groceries and to buy that gas and everything that's, that the prices have just gone up. So it makes it more difficult for buyers these days. But with this down payment of 25%, it just really puts a lot of people in the market to where they can buy, whereas they couldn't before.
Big picture is to create an incentive for builders who have pretty much been focusing on higher end homes and more custom homes that have very high price points to build more modest homes for your first time buyers.
the affordability of homes anywhere, the prices are just going up. And you still have the maintenance of a home that is not new construction. The new construction part benefit because of the maintenance issues that, that first time home buyers, may not be prepared for because they've been renting and they've had, everything taken care of for the most part by their landlords. So it's an opportunity for builders to get in there and to start building homes that are affordable for the new home buyers that are just getting started. Well, in doing the first loan in the state, I was kind of concerned about how it was going to be processed and how Kentucky Housing had gotten ready for the difference in the setup of the loan and things, but it was so easy. It was just a very smooth process. We reserved the funds on the first day the funds came out, and we had the file closed in 2 weeks. The buyer was just ecstatic and so happy, and everything just went so smooth. It just couldn't ask for a smoother process in getting the documents, getting them reviewed, Kentucky Housing, being right there, getting everything ready to close for the buyer was just, and the realtors were just so surprised at how smooth the process went.
Do I have questions?
First of all, why not contact housing authorities that have a Section 8 for home ownership program?
You asked that question last time.
I asked the question for 6 years. Why don't we have a Section 8 for home ownership program?
I can answer that part if you want me to answer that part. But you're asking about it for the SAM program.
For this, that you contact the housing authorities. Second of all, somewhere along the line in phase 6, individual development account, matching funds for repairs. Because if people are already at that limit, you want them to be able to do repairs. And third is, do you have to be a 501c3 to put your money into this? No. I can put money into it.
We'll start. Do you want to answer your part
I
first,
came in
Randy, and
here
then we'll-
going, where can I put money?
I can answer why we don't do Section 8 to homeownership for our Section 8 voucher program. So we did do it for a long time. We saw a lot of strain and issues with it in administering it, in part because we are not able across 87 counties to offer really good homeownership counseling and services to get people ready. Louisville and Lexington, Northern Kentucky, Bowling Green, they can do a pretty good job of that. It's really hard for us to offer the level of service that you really need to pair with making someone ready to be a homeowner. So that's why we don't do it. It doesn't mean this program couldn't pair with an existing PHA's program. There's no prohibition on that. It all depends on if Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac will buy those loans. That would be our only limiting factor.
Well, they already buy Section 8 for home ownership loans.
So it may be fine. I'm just adding that's an issue for us.
The two together. And FXS, but that's separate anyway. That's just money. But if you don't have to be, I had someone ask me, I'd like to put money into my community for housing.
Mm-hmm. So
do we have to donate? We don't have to donate it. It's an investment, right?
You have to donate it if you are a for-profit entity. So Fannie and Freddie rule that. That's their rule. So they will not purchase the first mortgage loan if a for-profit entity owns any future appreciation on that second. So we can do it as a state HFA. Employers could do it as an employer-assisted housing. Municipalities can do it. But a private investor cannot do it.
But if you set it up, I can go to my charitable blah, 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 and put money into it and then just donate that money.
Donations we can take all day long.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. That's phase 43. We're at 43. Like Heather and I have got like, it's going to take us through forever. But yes.
Listen, old lady book groups.
Okay, other questions on this? I want to congratulate Jamie and Heather on what they have done with this, plus all the support they've had by everybody else in the corporation to make this possible. This has come about in a relatively short period of time to get such a significant program up and running from scratch. Is the second state in the United States of all 50 to have such a program statewide. There are some other cities that have it and other places around that has it. California has a program, but it functions on a $900 million state appropriation. And we'd love to have, a state appropriation from this legislature and governor to be a part of phase 2 of this program. But we don't have that at present. And so phase 2 is focused on trying to get investments from municipalities, county governments, and other entities who have citizens who have housing needs that aren't being met. And we've had some interesting inquiries and discussions thus far to not for long enough to be concrete about, but we're optimistic about things developing in those lines, which you'll hear more about in the future, assuming that they do in fact develop. But this is the key here is the $10 million that we're using as seed money for this. We're looking at really a maxing out of maybe 160 homes. That's how many transactions that we can finance. Now, the money will be recycled as mortgages are paid off and as funds come back in. So over the long run, it could be a lot more than 160. But 160 homes isn't going to make a huge dent in the housing problem that we have in the state. To make a bigger dent in that, what we need is phase 2 of this to work. So your city, county government, your local hospitals who are trying to attract employees and provide housing for them, or places in the community where they can live. This could be a game changer for a lot of people. So thanks to Jamie and Heather and everybody else.
There's a mayoral race and my actual council member race. So that's a question I can ask. Okay.
And that's it for the informational items today.
Excellent, Winston. Thank you. Thank you, ladies, for your effort. We really appreciate it. So we'll move on. Are there any items from the board or staff that are not on the agenda? Okay. All right. Well, again, Stephen, welcome, and Vanessa, welcome to you. We appreciate you all being here today. And if there are nobody has any questions or anything, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. So, okay, we got a motion from Matt and a second from Matt. All right. All signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, like sign, motion carried. Thank you all for attending. Thank you. Hey.